Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to yet another adventure from the Thrift Store Prepper. And when I say adventure, I really mean video. I don't know why I said adventure. This is anything but of an adventure, if truth be known. But, it's something that we've been working on over the last few months, and this is something I'm going to try. This is going to be a little bit new, and it's going to be called Thoughts from the Thrift Store Prepper. And in today's video, I don't know how long it's going to go for, or if I'm going to go off on any tangents or forget what I was going to say before the video ends, but we're going to attempt to try and address the issue that maybe we're being programmed to prep. Now, I myself have only recently started prepping, but for quite some time now I've watched a few of the TV shows that have been generated around prepping, doomsday preppers, doomsday bunkers, things like this. And, I kind of had a little bit of an interest in this. And I think really and truly, if I trace back to where it all started, it was possibly my childhood. And as a 10-year-old, we got ourselves a brand new VHS recorder and TV from the rental place in my hometown, and we were allowed 3 free movie rentals. And this is back in the 1980s when there were not many video titles around, and the library and the rental store only had, I think, 25-30 videos top. But as a 10-year-old, I don't know why it stood out to me, but Zombies Dawn of the Dead, the George A. Romero classic, had an intriguing cover. And I think as a child, my only real experience was with Scooby-Doo and zombies in that, and I thought they were kind of funny and goofy. But as a 10-year-old, I can tell you that movie traumatized me. But as it happens, has been one of my favorite zombie films for quite some time, and part of what it appealed to me was the guys that shacked up in the shopping mall, and they had almost everything they could possibly need to survive at their fingertips. And I guess that kind of was the spark that kind of got me into surviving in the post-apocalypse. And as I grew up, movies like The Road Warrior, also known as Mad Max 2, was another post-apocalyptic movie that I watched many times over and over as a youngster through school holidays and playing truant and such forth. These are possibly, examples of predictive programming in themselves. But fast forward to today's age, in today's times, that it's almost impossible to avoid prepping at some cost. In so many TV shows and movies in recent years have stemmed around the post-apocalypse, and The Walking Dead would be the prime example. And there was a huge zombie craze a few years ago, and every movie in the theater seemed to be about zombies, and you couldn't put enough zombies on TV. And again, this shows and depicts survivors in a shit hitting the fan situation, trying to survive. And more often than not, you see pantries and food supplies and things like MREs featuring in episodes randomly. And there's even shows like The Extreme Couponers, where the underlying tone of the whole episode is the reason that they are collecting coupons and going to these supermarkets is to stockpile their prepper pantry for emergency situations. So this is examples of mainstream. And if you even go to YouTube and just type in prepping and search for channels, then hundreds and hundreds will come up, this one included, although probably not very high up on the search bar or on anyone's radar, because we're kind of new and don't really promote this. In truth, I don't really know what I'm doing, and trial and error and making things up as we go along. So this is what this video is a little about. And it's just curious to see how many people that do watch this video, for how long they've been prepping, and what inspired them to prep, and what did they grow up prepping, or is it something that they've only recently decided to do? And another thing that I noticed recently back in my native England, with the Brexit looming, and goodness knows what's going on there. I haven't really followed it that much, but I am hearing reports that prepping is on the rise, and more people in the UK are going out in stockpiling food and rice and beans and all the stuff associated with prepping. And I've caught a couple of videos from the UK, and of people saying in their videos that I've become a prepper, and it's something I never ever thought I'd be. And I always thought preppers were guys in trucker hats and chewing tobacco and shotguns and trucks and AR-15s, and that's not the case. And kind of a little bit like the tattoo craze. It once upon a time only prisoners, sailors and gangsters had tattoos. Now everybody has a tattoo, and it's a little bit the case with prepping. It seems more and more people are jumping onto the prepping craze and going out and stockpiling on things. And really and truly, what is prepping other than consuming? And in recent months, we've heard that the Department of Homeland Security suggests and advise the public that it's sensible to have 6 months worth of supplies on hand for whatever eventuality that they suggest may or may not occur. It's a little bit fear-mongering, and nothing sells more than fear. And in a day and age of artificial intelligence and algorithms ruling our lives and controlling our social media feeds and certainly things we see on YouTube, I have reason to believe that we are being a little bit programmed into the behavior of prepping. That's not to say it's a bad thing. It's always good to have what I consider food insurance. In case, you never know. It doesn't have to be, and I repeat myself over and over again with this phrase, it doesn't have to be for a doomsday situation. Everyday situations can occur, and more, realistic things are like power outage or bad weather, hurricane, earthquakes, snowstorms, whatever. And that brings me to the next thing that I'm going to have some thoughts about, and it's kind of a little bit along the lines of what we've been talking about, people being programmed into to prepping. And I do watch a few other prepper channels, maybe for inspiration or maybe to avoid content that they're putting up and try to put things different. But this one guy I kind of caught recently was called Basement Prepper, and the reason I kind of was attracted to it is because I myself live in a basement, and those who are following, you've seen I've got a small space, and my prepper pantry is extremely small and compact, but I'm trying to utilize the best I can. But this guy, the Basement Prepper, and by no means am I calling him out, no means am I criticizing him. If anything, my heart kind of felt for him, because recently he, I can't remember where he is in the United States, but there's obviously somewhere in the Northeast, and he had a snow and ice storm, and as a result it brought down some power lines in the small rural town. I guess he's kind of remote, not in a big city, but he was pretty much isolated, and for 4 days the grid was down, they had no power. Now this guy is sitting on quite a stockpile, and a stockpile that be quite an envy to most people. He's got all the 101 prepping items like your rice, your beans, your Mountain House freeze-dried stuff. And he's got it all there, and by all the means of the definition, he's prepped for these eventualities. But what he found was he had no way of cooking some of these items. He had no power, and his little stove that he had wasn't hot enough to boil water, or it took an extremely long time to boil water, and he had no way of prepping his rice and his beans or heating up water enough to rehydrate his Mountain House freeze-dried stuff. But between the lines, the truth of the matter, I think more to the point, was he had a particularly reluctant wife who probably saw his prepping habits as a little bit of a hobby and a way of keeping him quiet and out the way while she watches Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead and American Idol or whatever her fix is on the TV, or whatever it is she's Snapchatting, who knows. But I'm not criticizing the lady, I'm not criticizing the guy. I'm just saying that here's a guy who's gone out of his way, he's put all the effort into making a prepping pantry in his basement, and when a relatively minor situation happened, like the power being out, he was kind of in the creek without a paddle. And are we being programmed into prepping with the right things and the right items? And almost any prepper will be telling you go out and buy stacks of rice and stacks of beans, and it's cheap and it's relatively easy to store, and you get a lot of it for your buck. But when it comes down to it, are you going to be able to prepare this food? Certainly if you don't have the equipment and you don't have the resources available to you, then maybe these aren't the best items to get. So maybe anyone who's prepping, and me myself, take a step back, look at ourselves and think, do we really need this? Do we need to be spending the money that we are on this? And, is it maybe more of a hobby or an obsession than actual necessity to put this down? And, maybe try to limit what you do spend and what you do buy, and make sure what you do spend and what you do buy is on things that you really do need. And that's kind of the approach that I'm trying to go with, is half the shit they tell you need, you don't need, and a lot of the stuff they tell you is ideal not necessarily is. You don't know what circumstances are going to lie around the corner. You're not going to be this is what it's like when shit hits the fan. You don't know what it's going to be until it does eventually hit. So back to the basement prepper, my heart kind of bled for him, because I bet deep down he was secretly kind of excited and like, yes, this is it, my moment. I can finally use my prepping items and show my wife that it's all been worth it. And when it come down to it, the poor guy had to drive 40 miles to go and get Taco Bell and McDonald's and Wendy's and other kind of fast food and 7-Eleven runs just to keep his wife and kids fed for the 4 days they were out power. And the money he had spent obviously on some of his prepping items obviously was money not well spent, and he ended up having to go out and spend more money on gas to go and trek through the abysmal weather to get himself to McDonald's, and then spend the money on the McDonald's or whatever else it was he got. So let's not get too carried away with why we're prepping, and that's kind of why I try to take a more laid-back, humorous, light-hearted look at prepping and trying to make a joke and a laugh of it. But at the end of the day, we've all got to eat, and having something to eat in the pantry is better than having nothing to eat. And money's tight. Sometimes just being able to put together groceries for $30 or $40 to last you a month is prepping for some people. And that's a very real struggle for many people, be it people on minimum wage, students, or maybe people who are on benefits or welfare, things like this, that are trying to put together and keep a family up together and fed and watered. That sometimes maybe instead of buying lotto tickets or buying Monster Energy drinks in a Starbucks, go to the dollar store and pick yourself up a few cans and ramen noodles. I keep it simple. I don't have anyone else to really worry about in a worst case scenario, and that's why I kind of tend to stick with the food that I know I can eat and I know I can use, and is going to require almost little to no preparation in the event of emergency. I mean, if I really needed to and I had a couple of candles, I could heat a can up on a candle. It would take forever, but that's better than having to try and boil water to cook rice or pasta or freeze-dried greens. And anyone who's cooked those at home with professional equipment or your domestic stove, it takes a long time to cook these items. So when you've got no power and maybe wood that's not dry and just a small pot and no lids to try and boil your water, good luck. So I'm going to wrap things up there. I'm not sure if this is going to be a feature or not, but it's thoughts that have been bouncing around my mind, and stuff that I probably could have put into other videos that I posted and forgot about afterwards. But basement prepper, if you watch this, hang in there, son. Don't worry about the old lady, don't worry about the kid, just keep doing what you're doing. If it makes you happy, it ain't wrong. And heaven forbid, if we do get a real shit hit in the fan situation, the old lady and the kid will soon come around to eating your mountain house and your rice and beans, because there ain't going to be no Taco Bell and ramen if the grid goes completely down, or the aliens evade, or the fucking zombies start rising from the graves and fleshing upon the brains of the living. So thanks for watching. This has been a shit video production. for the thrift store prepper. Let me know if you like this, or if it's something you'd like to see more of. If not, it's cool. If you do, that's cool, you know. It's all good, it doesn't really matter. So, we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.